Reactive Training Systems.
What's up? It's Jim, Ellie, and obviously the one and only Mike Tushir. We just got done training. Pretty good session today, and we wanted to crank through some of the RTS Instagram questions that we get. If you're not following us on Instagram, do it now so we can start answering more of your questions on YouTube, and also we answer them on Instagram. And some of the more complicated questions we like to answer here on YouTube, one of them being something about AMRAPS.
Yeah, just kind of general thoughts on AMRAPS and how we use it during our training processes. I like AMRAPS just basically as a training tool. You know, I'm looking for a training effect if I'm going to program an AMRAP. I know lots of coaches use it as a progress check, and I think that's fine. I think it's interesting when you start to add in stipulations onto your AMRAP, like rep caps or RPE caps. You know, some people will say, I want you to do an AMRAP but stop at RPE 9. I don't like that so much because that requires the athlete to evaluate their RPE basically every rep, and that's not what I want them focused on. I want them focused on doing the set, you know, and either getting their number of reps or just going as far as they can go. I mean, I'm sure that it works, and I'm sure it's probably not a huge difference, but that's just kind of my preference. In terms of progress checks, we work with RPE all the time, so there's pretty much constant progress check from your load, rep, and RPE combinations. But I do like them as just a training tool, you know. So a lot of times what I'll do is, if I'm programming a series of singles, say I've got an exercise and I want somebody to do mostly singles, we might do a single at 7, 8, 9 RPE, and then I'll take that last set and drop the load down to about 80% and do an AMRAP. It's a good way to plus up the volume, get another hard set in there, but not take too much emphasis away from those heavier singles.
Yeah, and I personally like programming them mostly for supplemental work. I think bench press is, in my mind, bench press is almost always feeling like supplemental work, because there's no spinal loading. It's no matter what I do, it's only going to get my upper body that pretty stressed out. But like bench press variations, like assistance work, maybe sometimes, but definitely supplemental work, especially on bench press. But then like things like dumbbell split squats or Romanian deadlifts or something like that, where yeah, it's difficult, but its focus is on muscular development, and it's a lower mentally fatiguing exercise. So maybe Romanian deadlifts are mentally fatiguing for you. It doesn't really matter, but finding those exercises where the individual really likes to do them, but they're not too fatiguing mentally, I find that the AMRAP work can be more effective and a little bit more enjoyable. Otherwise, if you're doing constant AMRAPs on like your competition squat, or maybe every 4 weeks or something, I just feel like I don't know if I could get behind right now in my current biases doing an AMRAP on squats every week. It's possible, definitely not saying you shouldn't, but I haven't really done that.
I mean, I wouldn't have an issue with it. In general, I think that the training culture of powerlifting has moved away from high RPE work. Kind of a back in my day story, I guess, but it used to be that lifters in general, there wasn't even, like, before there was a concept of RPE that was widely talked about, you know, people would talk about, hey, leave a rep in the tank, as in don't train to failure on every single set. And that was a landmark concept in a lot of ways. And then later on, you know, we start training with RPE, and RPE catches on in a lot more ways. So what I've seen is the average RPE has gradually decreased, and that's fine if that's what we find to be effective, but I think it's kind of led to almost a fear or reservation about high RPE work. And if we're talking about like one set or something like that, because you're going to do one AMRAP set a week, you're going to take one set to a 9 or 10 RPE, I don't know, I'm not too worked up about that. Now, I think there's an argument to be made about not taking your squats and deadlifts to, 12 or 15 or 20 reps. But even that, I mean, people do that, and people train that way and get better doing that for long periods of time. So I don't think it's a thing to be that afraid of. But also, just because you're doing an AMRAP doesn't mean that it's got to be high rep work. You could have a 85% AMRAP, and it's going to be, depending on the day, 3 to 5 reps probably, depending on the lift too, and a lot of other things. But you get the point. Even
my initial reservation, it's mostly just because I don't currently have a lifter that I'm working with that I think they would benefit right now.
Sure.
And so the really great thing about the questions we get, especially ones about protocols, it's that anything can work if you have a justification and you're tracking the response of what happens to the athlete when you do that. So, I might have a bias against it right now because I haven't done it. I haven't yet seen it to be effective. But I mean, when a new athlete comes to me and they tell me like, I love AMRAP work, I'm not going to say no, like that doesn't work for you because I haven't seen it. So like any of these types of variables, if an athlete's saying that like, hey, AMRAPs, I really like doing them, they provide a good response, a good experience for me. I noticed that my estimated 1 rep max improves, or I feel more confident with the maxes. Like that becomes more important than my bias of like what I've done before,
Yeah, exactly. And like the most surefire way for me to find an athlete like that is to say that I'm never going to use this method, or the X, Y, Z method is useless. AMRAPs, we could be talking about dynamic work or supplemental work or anything. The moment I say, now that's useless, then somebody's going to come along and I'm going to find a use for it, because the things that you do have a specific training effect, and there will be somebody that needs that training effect. So it's all about applying a tool to solve a problem.
Thank you for watching this video. Again, if you don't already follow us on Instagram, it's at Reactive Training Systems. If you want to ask questions like this and get them answered in a more in-depth way, that's your best way to do it. Otherwise, post a comment below, and we'll see you in the next video.